Hello and welcome to the lecture on floating boxes. Now that we have learned how to create boxes of different size and shape, how to color them, how to add borders on top and bottom, and we have understood what is margin and padding of a box. Now we have understood boxes, let's move the box around in the web page. That's what we're going to learn in this lecture. Okay, so we're going to move the boxes and then we'll see how we can play around with the boxes. Okay, so we can say floating box. In this we're going to create a file, create different examples of floating the boxes. We're also going to create some menus out of it, like horizontal menu and a vertical menu. We'll also float some images. Okay, so we're going to have fun in this exercise by floating the boxes. Okay, so I'm going to add the boilerplate here. So here's a boilerplate. So what we're going to do, we're going to define a box. Let's define a box. Okay, we'll create multiple boxes and then we're going to see what are the properties that you can use to float the boxes, which is called as moving the box. So I'm going to say height is 130 px and width is again 130 px. We're going to have a margin bottom of 10 px. This is a margin, not padding. Margin means having space between the boxes. And we're going to have a margin of right of 10 px, right? So we have a box. Let's define two colorful boxes. One is blue color box and one is green color box. Okay, the blue color box, we can see the background color. That's how you color the box. You can say blue and you can say green. Alright, now you have two boxes. Let's print those boxes and see how the boxes will look like. So we're gonna have like 5 blue boxes, 3 green boxes, so we're gonna have like, say, class. We need to have box and then we're going to have blue boxes, right? So we're going to have 1 2 3 4 5 and then we're going to have the 3 green boxes. Just going to copy paste this. Okay, nothing fancy here. I'm just trying up boxes here, and boxes are like blue boxes and green boxes. So let's view this page. Okay, so you have like 5 blue boxes and green boxes. Now what I want to do is I want to float the boxes in line, which means side by side. Okay, now you see you have no control on the boxes, right? You cannot move the boxes around. Let's try to move these boxes around. Okay, how can you move these boxes around? Let's do a live preview of this so we know as we are doing it. Right, so let's float the blue boxes one after the other. So for that you have to just add a property called float, and if you say left, you see all the boxes has gone to the left. So if you do the full preview, you see all the boxes has moved to the left. They are floating onto the left side. Okay, they are floating one after the other and on the left side. And if you say green, you say float right, so they float on the right side, right? They are on the left side, they are on the right side, and they are all floating in line, which means they are in the same line. Okay, that's how there's a property called float. Let's understand what is this property called float. Okay, I'll give you a simple definition of it. So float is a property which is used to specify the elements to float left. Means you can move those boxes to the left or right, or follow whatever arrangements that you have. So if you say none, they won't follow any floating. They follow the normal standard arrangements of the boxes. You can say left, right, initial and inherit. We have seen left and right, which allows the element to float left or right. Initial value, you can add a custom value which can give to float the element. Inherit means whatever is the parent floating process, like whatever the elements are arranged, it just follow the parents style. Okay, clear both means it will stop following the boxes. Okay, it just go to the new line and then start from there. All right, so now you have understood how to float the boxes one after the other. Okay, you have learned how to float the boxes one after others. Let's do some more examples of it. Let's put an image and then we try to float it, right, to the left, to the right, to the center, and then we can play around with the image. All right, so for this I'm going to copy paste an image. Let's create one more file. Let's do floating of images. Okay, so we remove all these things. We remove the boxes. Now let's add some property. The h1 property, we will say text align center, and text decoration we will add underline. Doing some simple styling on the page. Let's do the CSS for image tag. I want to have a margin of right. Okay, and I want to have 20px. So I'm adding a margin to an image. Okay, you have seen how to add margin to the boxes. You can add margin to any element, and you can see every element has a box. Okay, so you can move the box around, you can add margin, padding, everything to the boxes. Okay, so image also is a box, so you can add some margin to the right. So when you write text, you have some space with the on the right hand side of the image. Then we will have two properties to float left and float right. Okay, we're just gonna say float left and float right. Right, so let's do our image now. Let's add our image. So we have h1, okay, that's our h1, which is in center, because we have said h1 to align center. We want to add an underline as well. Okay, then we want to have a div tag, and inside div tag we want to have like image tag and a paragraph tag. Okay, src is equal to the doc file, that's the image file, and I want to have a class of float left. Okay, and you can have an alt, you can say German Shepherd. We want to have an height 250px and width of 250px. That's the image size. Okay, then we'll add some text here. So we're gonna add some text here, right? So let's look at the image here. So you have an image and you see the space here. That space is coming up from the margin. Okay, you have a margin, right? Okay, and as and when you increase this, let's say you make it to 100, you see the space has been increased. Okay, that's how you add margin to the boxes. Okay, and when you add margin, the text will have some space around the image. If you don't have a margin, then text will flow right after the image, which we don't want it. We want to have some space so readability is easy to understand. Okay, so let's create some more tags. Well, I've copy pasted the same code and I've said float right, and I've added the image to float left, then again one after the other. I want to float them one after the other, so you'll have 3 images. All right, so you look like this. Okay, it doesn't really look like what we want to achieve. We want to have a break somewhere. We need to find a way to break the floating, or else you see how jumbled it is. Okay, we need to find how to break this floating. So let's figure out how to do that. Okay, so I'll show you a CSS rule which I use typically for all my projects, and which is also be commonly used in the community as well, and it is called as clear fix. Clear fix means you see this issue that you have, it's all around the place. You should able to find a way to break those blocks, right? Break those boxes and then start in a new line. For that, This is a very famous CSS that you can find in GitHub as well. It's called as clear fix. Okay, it's a pseudo element. Okay, clear fix of after. So wherever you mention clear fix, what it does, it try to break the sequence of the floating. Okay, so this is how our output looks like. After you apply this, you'll see what will happen. So we're gonna apply class is equal to clear fix. Okay, so you see there's a image has been brought it down because this floating of the boxes, it break from that box. Okay, then similarly you can have the clear fixes for rest of the div tags. What you're saying is, after this div has been applied, you want to break that box. You don't want to continuously flow in that same hierarchy. You want to start creating a new line item, like a new line, and then start floating the boxes from there. So if you look at now, you see all the boxes is been broken down into each lines. Earlier everything was jumbled up. Okay, after this div tag I have added a clear fix. After this div tag I have added a clear fix. Then now the floating will start with a new line. Okay, so the code here, we haven't covered display yet. Well, visibility hidden is simple to understand. Whatever that is being overflown, it will be hidden. Display block we haven't seen. We will see what is display block. So take this as an example, right? Wherever you have to have a breakage of boxes, use this clear fix. Okay, and this is a code snippet which is very famous hack that many developers use to clear any floating objects after the box. Okay, previously they used to use like this, like content clear both and display table. Then it used to break that box floating and start with a new line. Then they as and when people find out an easier way to do it. Okay, we're gonna discuss about what is display block means, then I can explain you what this code does. But as of now, take it as a granted for CSS rule, a CSS that can be used to break the floating of the objects after the boxes. So let's move on. So we are able to print images, some text, images on the right hand side and left hand side, and we are able to float all the images side by side. Okay, so let's create an horizontal and a vertical menu. Let's do that. So let's create another example. We'll create a horizontal menu. All right, so in this example we'll create a menu. So let's create that menu first. We'll use the unordered list, and then we'll have li to it. We'll say home. Then you can have a blog, contact, about. Okay, and if you look at the menu, it's going to look like this, right? So this is going to have a horizontal and a vertical menu. Okay, and then we'll try to remove all these listings by CSS. So let's remove all those listings first. So what we can say is list style type as none. Okay, once you do that, then all the dots are gone. That's the listing has been gone. Okay, and then what you can do is we can add a background to this. So you have a black color background, something like that. So background color, right? So you have a background to it, and we can change the color as well to white. So to change the color, this is a link, right? So we have to change the anchor tag. Now we can say lia. So inside, only applicable to anchor tag inside the li tags, and color is white. Okay, so it looks nice now. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna float them to the left side. So how you can do it? You can li so we float them to the left. Okay, but we are unable to see it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say overflow hidden. Okay, so it brings back the view. So whatever is overflow, we just cut it off and then bring back to the view. So by adding overflow hidden, we're able to see the menu here. We'll add some space as well. Okay, and this space can be done with the anchor tag, we can add some padding. So padding is inside the box, we have some space, so padding of 14px and 16px. Okay, let's add some padding here. Okay, so you see the padding has been added, and then we're gonna say text decoration. You have seen underline, right? We remove the underline now. So text decoration is none, so the line is gone. Okay, now you have a nice menu here. So because we still have padding, we cannot see that padding. What we can do is we can add some inline block to it. We can create a block here. So we have a block here because we added padding. We have a block here, but we cannot see it. So there's a property using, say, display block. We're going to use that. And so display is a property which controls the behavior of displaying the element on the page. If you say display none, let's say display none, you add it to UL, you say display none, then that element is not visible, right? You can control the display of that element via this display property. Okay, so you can remove this, not required. Okay, you can have display block or display inline. Display block will show the block and inline will show the block inline. Okay, so let's add one more property called display. It's called as inline block. Okay, it's already inline, but once you add inline block, then the block is completely visible here. Okay, you're displaying the whole block, right? And the block is completely visible, so you can see the padding as well, right? If you increase the padding, this will go up, but you don't want to have too much of padding, then the menu bar will become very big. Okay, so this is very simple to add horizontal menu. Let's convert into a vertical menu and then play around with it. So I'm going to copy paste this and I'm going to call it vertical menu. Okay, let's open that up. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to remove all these things. Okay, all right, so what we can do is we can remove overflow hidden. Instead of that, we can provide width. So once you have the width, then it cannot overflow, right? Now let's play around with the anchor tag. We'll say I want to display it as a block, not inline block, like each cube boxes. Then color is white. Okay, so you can see white in color. Then we can add in the padding here. Same 8px or 16px. Then text decoration is none. The underline will be gone. Okay, so you have the sidebar menu. Okay, you can have the sidebar menu, which is nothing but the vertical menu. You can also have the horizontal menu. So you see, it's so easy to create menus with CSS, and the main magic is happening from display. You can display it as a block, you can display it inline. Okay, and then you can add the padding, width and everything, just the normal way that we have learned about handling, how to handle the boxes. All right, so that's all the examples on creating the floating boxes, how to float the boxes, right? And how to float the images and the text around the box, and then how to create horizontal menu and the vertical menu. Okay, so that's all this example, and I'll see you in the next one.